Welcome to the Valley.
Area of entertainment.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of AOE, and today we're about to review the series finale of Cobra Kai, and let's just get right into it.
Let's do it. All right, starting off the show, we're going to talk about where we left off from the same season. We pretty much left off at the end of where Quan died, I believe.
Yeah.
So Quan died, he killed himself. I think he pretty much spun and, he pretty much killed himself.
It could have been him, it could have been Axel, because he was attacking Axel, and Axel just, defended himself, and then by doing so, he flipped, and then, but also himself. You could say that Kreese did it, because Kreese actually brought the knife to the event, and then you could even say that's Daniel, Johnny, and Chosen, because they actually made Chosen, they actually made, Kreese get mad and lose the knife and all that stuff, but yeah, it's kind of mixed thing.
We're pretty much started. We're at pretty much where everybody goes back home and they're dealing with the death of the student, one of the fighters.
Yeah.
So Daniel doesn't want to fight anymore. He's seen someone actually get hurt. So he's like, I'm done fighting. We're done with this. Let's move on with our lives.
And also, the whole thing with Mr. Miyagi, how,
right.
that too. And then same thing goes for Kreese, how, he thinks to himself, he failed, his student that, he put so much into.
And he picked him.
Yeah, and he picked him to be that. And then same thing, Kreese is, less, he's less worried about the death, because he just wants to have his revenge. So he is yeah, I know a student died, but I want my revenge. So he wants to fight. And so yeah, in the first few episodes, we kind of just we just see all the characters Miguel, Robbie, and then we just see what's going on. And then when
they're all pretty much getting ready for college and finishing high school.
And then we'll just jump to Kreese. Kreese talks to one of the officials of the Saiga Taika, and he's like, "Yo, you got to put this tournament on." And then
it wasn't Kreese, it was Silver.
I mean, yeah, Silver. That's my bad.
I think that's where you got confused. So Silver wants to continue it because he actually has cancer. So we gonna get into the pretty much the last final episodes, but I want to start off with our review of it. I mean, personally, I would give it an actual 8 out of 10 for the whole series. There was a point in I'd say the last 2 seasons behind where they started to fall off, and you can tell that they were kind of running out of ideas and what to actually do with the show.
Yeah, I think
so. I'd give it an 8 out of 10 personally.
I think the same thing. Maybe 8 out of 10, maybe 8.5 at best, because there are like you said, I feel season 1 great, kind of has the basic tropes of Johnny making Cobra
pretty
Kai,
much catching up,
and then season 2 great. Season 2 had one of the greatest endings to a season, with the whole school fight, and then the cliffhanger of if Miguel is dead or not. And then season 3 was just a big hype moment, because it's is Miguel gonna survive? But then I think towards season 4 and all that, it started to be okay, you know what,
yeah. And I think that this final portion of this final season actually redeemed a lot of the shortcomings of the previous seasons.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's why I'd give it a high 8. I'd say a high 8, borderline 9. So I mean, it's a pretty good show. They wrapped it up pretty well.
Of course, not a lot of things did happen that most people wanted, but still, though, it's overall everything I feel ended really well, and how the stories that they drew out for certain characters were really good. How Hawk in the beginning, he was kind of evil,
he started off as a nerd.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, yeah, he started off as a nerd, but then he became a badass, and then he was on the good side for a while. But then after Miguel kind of had his accident, he became a bad guy. He was on the bad side, and then he had a whole arc where it's he could either be the good guy or the bad guy, and he became the good guy, and he had a whole thing. The same thing with they cut off his mohawk and all that. Basically, he just had an arc. Same thing with Robbie. Tori was always since season 2 when she got introduced, she was always the bad
the opposite
one.
Of the Miyagis.
Yeah, she was always the bad, on the evil side, but in the recent show, like she became
I think everybody got redeemed. They wrapped up all plot points.
Like Chosen too, even like the senseis even.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
except for Silver though.
I mean, Silver,
he was always the villain.
He was always the villain. I mean, there were points where he actually kind of, you would think he's going to a good guy, but then he was just
it was just always like, oh,
I think he was the main villain, and like Kreese was like borderline.
Yeah.
Because all Kreese wanted was to just get back.
We're going to do like a spoiler. Like,
so this is our spoiler portion. Yeah, we didn't want to really get into the spoilers in the beginning. We did want to give you guys our review first, and then you could tune out and then come back later once you watch the show if you haven't. But right now, this is our spoiler section. So we're going to talk about the actual ending of the show and what actually got tied up throughout it.
And I think that the ending for this show was actually like,
it was probably the best ending.
It was really good because I feel like the way how they wrapped up with everybody, not just like one person, like with everybody, it was really good, and it led up to, it's a good lead up to the new Karate Kid movie where it's like, oh, like, you know, you got Robbie and Sam. They were worried about their future and how like, oh, like our future is kind of like, you know, not good and our only career is karate, but they have a good career now. And then
it wasn't Sam, it was Tori. Robbie and Tori.
Yeah, Robbie and Tori.
Robbie and Tori. I believe it was Tori who won the championship. So she doesn't fight Sam. She just defeats the other girl.
Yeah, because
Sam kind of. So Daniel's.
It's the whole thing. like
it's a lot of spoilers in it. So pretty much Daniel has a dream about Mr. Miyagi, and then there's a whole fight scene where they're fighting together, which was pretty awesome. It kind of tied to the original movie,
and then Miyagi was like, he told Daniel like a specific thing where, hey, like, I mean, he didn't say it specifically, but the whole thing was that he was telling him
Miyagi-Do isn't for fighting, it's for defending.
Yeah, like it was never intended to fight. I taught you this so you wouldn't have to fight.
Right.
And then that's when Daniel realized like, oh, like the whole purpose is not for us to win. Right. It's for us to show Miyagi-Do to the world, and that's what they did. So that's why Sam
I think had like a same kind of dream, not a dream, but she kind of felt that like, listen, I don't have to fight anymore.
Yeah, it was like it was like this where well before that it was the boys fight, and then of course you got Robbie and Axel, and then there was a whole thing of like Robbie training to try to beat Axel, because remember Axel, no one could score a point. He was like, he was a machine. So like they were training him through like a VR thing, but that's like a whole another thing. And then they were fighting, and that's when Axel fought dirty because he was listening to his sensei, and then he literally like broke his his ankle or leg or something.
Pretty much twisted it. So he pretty much pulled a Karate Kid 1 move where they did the Daniel. And then Daniel had a funny scene where like, hey, you can't, warm it up.
Yeah, and then that's when like Chosen, he was like,
nah, it's broken, dog.
He was like, yeah, it's broken. Like we can't heal that. Right. And then, but it was a good moment because like that's when like Robbie kind of like
accepted it.
Yeah, he was like, hey, like like, cause remember back in season like 4, I think. He was like, oh, like I always get second place, or in this show he was like, oh, second place. I hate getting second place and all this, but I like the fact that he just like accepted, because he's like, yo, like realistically, like
he's better off. Like
the whole point of his character is that he just has to accept to lose, because the best way to win is you just have to learn how to lose. And I think he could have beaten Axel.
He could have.
I think he could have beaten Axel if they didn't cheat. I can actually like say that, but realistically, like,
I think they had to do that because they had to tie in the part where, spoilers, Miguel puts on the Cobra Kai gi and was like, listen, I'm about to win it for all of us. So he pretty much takes it up to himself. And
and I actually like, realistically, I'm not trying to say nothing, but it's like I kind of like predicted that.
It was predictable.
Like,
it was predictable because
like,
the whole time the announcer's saying, "Hey, if Cobra Kai doesn't find a champion, then they just gonna lose."
Yeah, and just like,
and you're like,
and just the idea of like, oh, like the show started with Miguel,
right,
being like the nerdy kid, and
it comes full circle,
and it's just like, oh, of course it's gonna end with him, and of course the show is called Cobra Kai. And it would kind of be like, oh, so if Miyagi-Do wins, then it's like, oh, the show shouldn't be called Cobra Kai. And
it was all about the redemption story of Cobra Kai.
And like, it was just like awesome the way how like, Miguel was chosen because he was fighting for that. And also another thing that made Miguel more of the character is that Axel was jealous of Miguel or he was jealous of Miguel because Miguel was Sam's boyfriend. He was like, oh, like I hate this dude, which made no sense. It was like, bro, like
he talked to her for like 10 minutes.
It was like, bro, like
he talked to her
really
for 2 minutes on the beach.
But that was like cool how like that happened.
Yeah, it was a redemption. But so pretty much Tori wins it for the girl side of Cobra Kai, and then now they need a boy champion. So Miguel was like, listen, I'm gonna do it for all of us. We need to get into this tournament somehow. Miyagi's done. They forfeited. So Sam forfeited her position so Tori could fight the Iron Dragon's female. I forgot her name.
Zara,
I
think.
Yeah, Zara.
But anyway, and then
Tori beat the shit out of her. She pretty much knocked her teeth out. She
actually did. There's a tough moment in the boys champion where like Miguel is winning. But then, after Axel kind of gets serious, he gets, like, fucked up. But then Johnny, his sensei / dad, he was like... And that moment, like, it's just, like, so cool. Because it's, like, if you think about it, right? Miguel is, like, fighting for, like, his family, technically. Because it's, like... Because remember, like, Robbie is technically his brother. Yeah. So it's, like, like, he saw his brother get hurt. Yeah. And now he's like, oh shit, like you hurt my brother. And then the scene where like his father / Johnny, he's like saying like, hey, like you have to get up, like you're the only, you got to do this, like you have to just go all in. And then Miguel's having flashbacks of all the seasons learning, and then when Johnny was like because Miguel's putting on the headband, and then Johnny's like, screw that. And he gives him his headband that he specifically like told Miguel about. And he's like, hey, this is the first headband I ever wore when I won. And then that moment was just awesome because that just showed like, yo, Miguel was
he gotta win.
Win. And then of course like Miguel won.
Yeah. So Miguel does win the fight.
Yeah.
And he pretty much beat the shit out of Axel. The issue is that Miguel scored enough points to tie it.
Yeah.
So Miguel is the champion, but there isn't a dojo selected to be number one. So it's a tie in points between Cobra Kai and Iron Dragons. So the announcer actually throws us a bombshell and pretty much says, hey, in the event of a freaking tie,
in the rules,
the sensei's got to fight to break the tie. And
everything goes.
And when I heard that, I'm just like, bro, like they're freaking going to give Johnny his chance to shine again. Like his redemption, because he went through the most throughout this series. Like it was all about him because how his life got fucked up.
It started with him. Like he was like the first person that we saw.
So we see him like, okay.
And also it's kind of like thinking like, yo, so Johnny has to fight like an ex-monk.
The Iron Dragons, he's the champion. The Iron Dragon sensei is the champion. So he is like, the Iron Dragons, the sensei for the Iron Dragons beat Johnny already.
Yeah, like
off the mat. They pretty much fought. And he got his ass beat. So Johnny is like, shit, I'm old, man. Like, how am I going to beat this guy? And we go through a whole arc where Daniel is training him, which is tough because Daniel kind of started this all.
Yeah.
Right? So he trains him, and it's a good montage where, like, they're training on the beach, and Daniel's teaching him Miyagi, and he's like, listen, at the end of the day, you got to fight like Cobra Kai. So the day of the tournament, the senseis come out, and the best scene I think in the movie is when Daniel comes out first.
Yeah, and he's
wearing black.
Yeah, rocking Cobra Kai.
And when you see him wear black, you're like, hold on, what? The last time he wore this was freaking
Part 3.
So I don't know, like that gave me chills, I'd say, that part.
Yeah,
and I think when Miyagi fought side by side in his dream with Daniel gave me chills because I'm just like, he never fought side by side with Daniel.
Yeah, that's right? Crazy. Yeah, like
against people. Like Daniel was always fighting somebody else, and then Miyagi was training him or coaching him.
Or it was like Daniel was getting messed up, and then
Miyagi
he saved him and stuff. Right. But never like side by side. So
side.
Something also like like before Johnny fights, this guy, there's a whole thing with Kreese and him, which I think was a good moment because it shows like, oh, like father son in a sense of like Johnny's the son and Kreese is the father, where like Johnny was saying like, oh, like you left me, you started all this, and technically, realistically, he kind of did.
He hit him in the parking lot.
Yeah, like, and it's just so crazy because like it makes you think like, dang, like in another universe.
Kreese didn't leave him,
like if Kreese never was like that,
they probably would have fought for he probably would have joined the tournament again.
Yeah, and like kind of like how like, oh, Kreese, like if he never like was like, oh, like you're out of the team, you're a loser, all this stuff, like Johnny wouldn't have been in that situation in episode 1. But yeah, and then there's a whole fight, but then that's when they make up, and that's when, you know, Kreese like respects him and Johnny respects him, and then there's a thing happening on the yacht.
Right. So Silver is having so I'd say like Silver's having a conversation with one of his henchmen saying, listen, I gotta win this for me. I'm gonna do anything I can. He's gonna be a slime ball and try and hurt Johnny's freaking wife and
his
daughter
newborn.
and his newborn.
and
so he's like, all right, I'll go do that. And then the Kreese is like, I'll give you this yacht if you could do that for me.
Well, Silver, he said.
Oh, Silver, yeah. So Silver tells him, I'll give you this yacht if you can do this for me, and we'll get it done.
And then that's when like Kreese comes out,
and and the best part is that he's protecting his student Johnny, which he failed to do
back then.
So he's protecting him, and it's kind of his redemption arc.
No, so it's funny that it's like online people are saying like, yo, like these dudes are fighting over kids, you know?
Yeah, but it's also like Kreese and Johnny. Kreese taught Johnny from when he was younger to be a champion. Yeah. So he was pretty much his dad, because Johnny didn't really have a dad. He had stepdads.
And then like
rich stepdads that, you know, didn't really care about
they were
him.
like, yeah, abusive probably.
So like Kreese was his dad.
Yeah.
So him defending him and kind of protecting his family was pretty cool, I think. And it was a good ending to that arc, because at the end of that scene, as we all know, that, you know,
they die.
Kreese blows up the yacht.
And then Silver, our cousin Sham, actually, you know, shout out
to Sham.
She said that realistically he could be alive, because you never know, like in another movie or something he could just swim out of the water, or he could be burned. True. And I'm just like, come on, dude, have you seen the explosion?
They were laying down on the yacht when that happened, so it's like, at what point did they have, once he lit the fire with the cigar, to get up, run out and jump in the water?
Yeah, it's just very slim.
If they wanted to, they could bring him back, but I think that it would defeat the purpose of that scene.
Yeah, like his ending and Silver's ending, where it's like I think since like they like ever since that they were like introduced, like Kreese and Silver, I think they always had to go out together, because it's like, that they were buddies in the army, and it's like, yo, like Kreese saved Silver and stuff, and it's like, like
he kind of owed him.
Yeah, he owed him, but yeah, that's that. So
that's the end of that arc. Kreese and Silver are dead.
Let's go back to karate now.
So now we're going back to karate, where you know, Johnny comes out. He's rocking Cobra Kai. He's the Cobra Kai sensei, and he's going against freaking the Iron Dragon's freaking sensei, which I don't remember his name.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares about him, because he loses. But the way he loses is pretty good.
It's kind of so like, it's like at first Johnny's getting his ass handed.
The first two hits.
He's fighting against the monk, so of course. But like that's when because he's afraid, because technically before the match, this guy was getting in Johnny's head saying like, you might think that, it's okay to lose and stuff, but just letting you know that your whole family, even your daughter, is gonna always see you as a loser. And then like your second chance is not gonna work. And then like that's when it gets in Johnny's head, where like he's afraid, and then in the start of the fight he's just afraid, and even Chosen said like he's afraid.
Pretty much could sense it in Johnny, and you could see it in him, because he doesn't want to attack like the aggressive way he's trained to do. So Daniel pretty much pulls a Kreese and tells him like, listen, you're Cobra Kai. Stop being a little bitch and fucking kick his ass.
Stop being a little. He's like, stop being a little pussy. He says, stop being a little pussy and just get out there and
kick his ass.
And then that's when it's just like,
and it was cool because Daniel was never like that. So to hear him say that and be like, listen, this is how you get through to this guy. Like, you have to freaking push him, and that's how he gets up.
And then he scores the 2 points. It's tied up just like the first movie. And then
there's 2-2. It's best out of 3 hits.
And then lastly, it's it's the final round. And then this is the moment where like I really thought that Johnny was gonna do the crane kick.
I thought so too.
It would have been really funny.
It would have been like, I think it would have been too much. Like I think everybody expected him to do that, because he did train with Daniel and in Miyagi-Do. So it's like it would have been fitting to put it in, but I think everybody wanted it so bad that they were like, listen, we can't do that.
Yeah.
But we're gonna do a move where it shows that this character's grown as a person and he learned from his mistakes.
Yeah.
So what happens is that
what happens is that the Iron Dragon Sensei, he's doing his move where like he's getting ready for him to attack him first.
So he's ready for him
because
to come.
I'm pretty sure that in one of the episodes where it shows before this whole thing happened, this guy was fighting in like an MMA like kind of like
because he's
thing.
a champion, the Iron Dragon. He's like
and
3 times champion,
and then he does like a move where like he's kind of doing like a parry move.
Finisher, right?
Yeah, he's a finisher, and then the guy's running, and then he just ends him, and then like that. So he's doing that move, and then Johnny's getting ready to attack first. But the whole time in this episode, Daniel was telling him like, hey, the only reason why you lost from me is because you ran right towards me and you got hit. So then the whole point is that Johnny has to understand not to attack first.
Right. And then pretty much don't be the aggressor, be on the defense, because Cobra Kai is always teaching strike first.
Yeah.
So he learned from Daniel and pretty much said, let the opponent come to me. So what he did, he stepped back and let the other sensei come in, and then that's when he caught him.
And then he did like a Bruce Lee back punch.
Yeah.
Like, try.
He pretty much hit him. So it was cool because Daniel was like, you learned, like, He kind of felt like a proud sensei when he was teaching him all that stuff.
And then the biggest moment is like when Daniel, he's like, "Oh, you're all right, Lawrence." I mean, you're all right, Lawrence. You're all right, Lawrence.
Which is funny because that's what he says. It's a callback because Daniel won in the first movie and Johnny was like, "You're all right, LaRusso."
Yeah, and like
then Daniel hands him the trophy. He's like, "You all right, Lawrence?" So I was waiting for that more than the crane kick because I was like, Johnny gotta win, and then Daniel has to say something. Yeah, because that's like the number one thing.
And then after that, it's just it's starting to show like endings. Yeah, just every endings for everybody. Like you got ending for
Dimitri.
Dimitri and Eli / Hawk, where they're going to the same college because Dimitri's like, hey, like I would rather go to school with you and be with my friend, because you're my best friend. And also there's like a little callback to a later episode where like Hawk was talking to Miguel in season 2 where he said, oh, like my mom's gonna give me her car and I want to put a blue stripe on it. And then
when they're packing up for college,
he has the car with the stripe, and I feel like that's kind of a cool callback to what he was saying. So that's their ending. And then Tori and Robbie, they're doing commercials and all that for
they
their
become
sponsors
karate because during Tori's fight, Robbie went to go talk to her because she was getting her ass whooped, and Robbie was like, listen, I'm not going to tell you anything. Just go kick her ass. And then he gives her a kiss. And
he said, I love you.
He says,
I love you. And then that kind of showed the people that were like watching, oh shoot, like
they want to be invested in this relationship.
And their story together. And I feel like that's great because like their story, just like in general, like it's like, oh, they're originally enemies.
Right.
But then they grew as characters, and like all the stuff that they went through were like, she was like this, her mom died, and then he was a bad like bully character, and then like that.
So that ended their storyline, and which was a good ending because now they got jobs, they're traveling together, and they're making money, and then they're good.
Then Chosen, same thing, ending with him where he's with the other girl,
sensei,
the other sensei,
the female.
Yeah, and then of course Daniel and Amanda, they're like they're already good.
Which was funny because did you know that the girl that was technically Daniel's cousin that was dating one of Daniel's coworkers at the car dealership, that was his actual daughter in real life? Yeah.
Way like the guy who played Ralph Macchio.
Ralph Macchio's daughter is Daniel LaRusso's cousin, the female cousin that showed up. That's his daughter. So I didn't know that because I was like, damn, she looks familiar. Like, she looks kind of like Daniel, or
I mean,
Ralph
it's his
Macchio,
cousin, but in the show his cousin, but in real life his daughter.
So,
that is funny though.
So she showed up, and Daniel's doing his same thing. He's got the car dealership. Nothing new there.
Of course, Sam's going to Okinawa, and then Miguel was also going to college, but he shows up last second at the airport. He's like, hey, like I want to be with you and stuff.
Yeah, so he's taking like the summer to go settle her in.
That ending's great because it shows like their relationship is gonna be like that.
Moving on.
And then who else? Johnny.
He has his dojo.
Johnny, he has dojo. He bought his the house for his family to live in, and he just I know, so we got a little like thing from Stingray.
Oh, Stingray showed up
towards the end, which was kind of funny.
Because
like
now Cobra Kai is the champion.
Yeah, it's like it's the biggest dojo like in the world basically. So everyone's in line for it. And Johnny, of course, is he's leading it, and
he's doing what he wanted to do from the beginning. And
also we see like Kenny and what's the other girl's name?
I forgot, but she was in the tournament when they
so basically we see all like the young people that were in Miyagi-Do and all that. We see them in Cobra Kai, and it kind of shows like, the legacy continues, where it's like, we got Kenny Payne, we got
and that's the thing, is that
we got
Johnny's teaching Cobra Kai, but he also says that
you also learn both Miyagi-Do, so you could learn balance, which I think that's cool, because then it kind of shows more into Daniel, and he's still involved in teaching. But yeah, anyways, cool. Like to like wrap it up, like everyone just had a good ending, where it's like, and I think it's a good kind of thing to continue, or it's a good like lead up towards the new the new Karate Kid movie.
Right. Daniel is in it
with Mr. Han, which I think that in that movie they're not gonna show like Johnny or probably Sam. I think it should just be Daniel, and it's just like he'll probably put some teases into it, being like, like maybe he's talking to Mr. Han, and then like he's like, Mr. Han's like, so what have you been doing in the past few like years? And he'll be like, I've been catching up with an old friend or something like that, or maybe like
a callback to the show.
But I think so it's good ending.
It ended the whole series. That was the finale, and it was you couldn't ask for a better ending. I mean, they wrapped up every storyline. They gave us what we wanted. They wrapped up his redemption arc. So Johnny's now in a better place than he was when he started, and
here's the thing. Like, what is something that you wish that they did in the show, but they didn't put in the show? Because a lot of people have like certain.
There's a lot of things that they could have added. I personally think that if Pat was still alive and he didn't show up throughout the whole series, but at the end he shows up, if he was alive still, that would have been probably the best thing that they could have did. But when they did the CGIs, it looked a little wonky in certain scenes. But I mean, it's tough to get an actual CGI face.
And he was still like in. Oh yeah, and also like kind of like the side story of like Mr. Miyagi being a killer and a robber and stuff. Right. That kind of got wrapped up a little bit.
That up.
Where Daniel's mother gave Sam a necklace, and it was a necklace of Mr. Miyagi's like mother or wife, and then like it was a whole thing where like that wraps up where like the necklace was stolen, and that's why Mr. Miyagi stole the necklace back. And that kind of showed like the whole thing where it's like like
he wasn't a thief
or a killer. He was just trying to like defend like and do all that. Like he was fighting for a good reason,
right?
Which I feel like that's a great
way to start.
It's a great thing to just stop that whole plot hole, because like I feel like that whole thing was I feel like that specific thing was just to like mess with Daniel, and kind of just be like throw,
because they even had a point where during the Sekai Tech, the first one, Miyagi killed somebody, which they wrapped that up because Miyagi after that always taught never to kill. So he's always taught peace and balance. And then the necklace being stolen, Daniel was like, hold on, who is this guy? Like, he thought he didn't know Miyagi, but it kind of everything got wrapped up at the ending. And I think it was probably the best show ending, I'd say, because everything got wrapped up, everything we wanted as a series. But if there was something that was missed,
there's a lot of things that were missed. Like, of course, like it would have been tough to see like Miguel and Johnny fight together.
Okay.
Because that's just a small thing where it's like.
But they kind of showed when he was training.
Like I'm saying, like actually fighting like somebody together. I feel like that would have been cool.
It would have been cool
like
to put a tag team. Versus Axel and his sensei and Johnny and Miguel.
Yeah, it's like they're fighting together. And then another thing is like other people nitpick about is like, like Robbie should have at least won something.
He did win though.
Yeah, but like
he won the game of life.
Yeah, like
he has a girlfriend.
But that's what he said. But that's the whole point though, is that like, hey, like, it would have been cool if he won a tournament. I get that, but still, like, he won like with himself and be like, yo, like, I'm great right now. Like, I'm fine where I'm at. But also, but
technically he did win because now all the sponsors are for him.
True.
So it's like he's the top guy in karate.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Him and Tori are the top guys in karate. because I don't think Miguel's fighting anymore.
But
maybe.
I think another thing too is like kind of iffy is that like I kind of wish to see what happened to Axel and Zara, because remember like Zara got knocked out.
Yeah, but
she got like that she was unseen. So maybe like kind of showed like something with her, like maybe like a small scene where it's like she's like, what the heck happened to all my followers?
Yeah.
And then Axel, maybe like he kind of had like a little like thing where like, oh, like he kind of quits karate for a while and he kind of lives his own life, because remember like it kind of shows like, oh shit, like this guy like lives, breathes, and like trains karate. So it's like, oh, maybe like he just gives that up and kind of like, and maybe kind of showed him maybe meet a girl, and it's like, oh, like instead of like him falling in love with Sandler, it's like, oh, he's falling in love with another girl. But yeah, but anyways, besides the point, like I think they did wrap it up good. Like those
really
little like
not much that they could have added. Yeah,
there's not a lot that like they like needed to added, because I feel like there are some sort of stories or some parts in the story that it's fine not to add in, like the whole part with, like you said, like Robbie. A lot of people are saying, oh, Robbie sort of won a tournament. Like you said, he didn't need to. He didn't need to.
Number 1 in karate right now.
Yeah, he didn't need to. And then same thing with like some other things too. Like they just needed that they didn't need to add that. But yeah, so far everything was good.
It was good. So
yeah, it was really good.
Wrapping up, we gave Cobra Kai both an 8.5, a high 8, I'd say. But yeah, overall we loved it. So if you're a Karate Kid / Cobra Kai fan, this is definitely a must watch. I mean, you can't ask for more. It gave everything the fans wanted. Yeah. So wrapping up, thank you for tuning in to AOE. This was our review of Cobra Kai. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.